Today we're going to start our Planet Discovery spreadsheets. This is an introduction to creating a spreadsheet in Google Sheets. We're going to work on steps 1 and 2 of this project. There are more than that, more steps than that. We'll go over those later, but today we're just going to focus on steps 1 and 2. When you want to start this project, we go to due dates, and then we're going to go down and find the Planet Discovery spreadsheet. You may have a different due date in your class, but we're going to click on this assignment. Now, this is just the page where you will turn in your assignment when you're finished. When you see it open up down here, you can attach your spreadsheet when you're finished, but we're just getting started. Here is the grading rubric that shows how you're going to be graded on your spreadsheet. And what I've done is I've put links to all 7 steps of this project so that you can just click on the page you want to work on. And we're going to work, like I said, on steps 1 and 2 today. So I'm just going to start by clicking on step 1. You'll notice that each of these steps, we're on step 1, they have buttons at the bottom to move on to the next page. So when I'm done with step 1, I can go down here and click next, and I can go to step 2. So we're going to create a spreadsheet that will calculate and tell us what our age and weight would be if we could live or visit other planets in our solar system. All the instructions are right here on the page, and I'm going to follow these instructions one by one like they're a numbered list. And when I'm done, I'll go down here and I'll click next, and I'll move on to the next page. When you're done with step 1, I've given you a picture down here to show you what your spreadsheet should look like, so you'll know if you did it correctly. So we're going to start with number 1. We're going to go to Google Drive. We're going to click on New, and we're going to go to Google Sheets. So all you're going to do is open a new tab, go to your Google Drive, and there's this button up in the corner that says New, and we're going to go to Google Sheets. It's the green choice. And we're going to go back, and it says Name your spreadsheet, your name planets. So we're going to go over here, and we're just going to, all of these options that pop up here on you, you can close everything. We don't need any buttons on the screen. But right up here, it says Untitled Spreadsheet, and I want to click on that and name it My Name Planets. So we'll just call it David Planets. We go back, we're on the next step. Highlight A1 through I1, click this Merge Cells button. It looks like 2 doors closing. It's going to make one big large cell. And in that cell, we're going to put a title, Planet Discovery by your name. So a spreadsheet is like a bingo card. You have columns. This is column D, column F. They're named after the letters at the top. This is column B. You have rows that run left to right. They're named by the numbers on the left. This is row 6. This is like row 9. So, like a bingo card, the area where a row and a column meet, this is called a cell. And that cell has a name, and you always start with the letter first, just like bingo. This is D9. And right up here is the naming box, and it tells you what cell you're in. So this is F4. This is B4. I'm going to go A1 through I1, just like it said. I'm going to click on the first cell here, A1, and I'm going to just drag on my touchpad over to I1. And you're going to press this button at the top that looks like 2 doors shutting. And you're going to see it right up here. It says Merge Cells. And when I click that, it made one big cell. And I'm going to put a title in it, Planet Discovery by your name. Now, we're on to the next step. Highlight A2 through I2. Now, this is the next row down, and we want to make our titles of these columns fit in these cells. So we're going to go to Format at the top of our screen, select Wrapping, and then Wrap. And what that's going to do is just like down here in the example, it's going to make all the words stack on top of each other so they fit in the cells. So I'm going to go up here to the top. I'm going to go back over here. We're going to go A2. I click on A2, hold down on my mouse pad, and drag across to I2. You go up to Format, Wrapping, Wrap. Now, nothing happens, but when we start putting the titles in, you will start to see that they'll stack on top of each other. Now, this would be a good chance for you to maybe do a split screen. I'm going to drag my spreadsheet over and touch the side of my screen. And I can do the same with the assignment page that we had. There we go. And we can have the steps of what to do over here, and we can type over here. All we have to do now is type all of these titles across the top, starting with A2 right here. I'm going to type planets. Notice that's capitalized. I can press tab on my keyboard. It'll go to the next one. I go over here to B2, and I'm going to do distance in miles to the sun. And I just write these titles all the way across the top. Distance in miles to the sun. Notice I'm capitalizing the big words. I hit tab. I'm on diameter in miles. I hit tab, so I never have to take my hands off the keyboard. I can just hit tab and go to the next cell. Gravitational pull compared to Earth. Hit tab. Now I'm over here on E2, my weight on Earth. And if you don't want to share your weight or figure out your weight on Earth, you can change this, and you could put Mr. Dean's weight on Earth, you know, and I'll give you my weight. You could put in 180. You could put my dog's weight and ask your parents, you know, my dog's weight on Earth, and we can figure out our dog's weight. You could put your cat's weight. I've even seen kids put, like, you know, a tiger's weight on Earth, and they look it up on Google, or an elephant's weight, and they put that in. But if you don't want to share your weight, you can look up the weight of something else. I'm going to use my weight on Earth. Hit tab. My weight on this planet. Hit tab. Period of revolution compared to Earth. Hit tab. I'm over here on the last two. H2, my age on Earth, and I2, my age on this planet. And notice, again, I'm capitalizing each of these titles, the big words at least that need capitalized. My age on this planet. Now, we can go ahead and put this back and go full screen. And there is one last thing to do down here, and a lot of kids miss this. Bold and center all of the titles you just made, and they'll look like the example down here. So I'm just going to go up here. I'm going to highlight all of A2 through I2, all of A1 through I1. Go up here and hit bold. And then right next to where I did merge cells, it says horizontal align, and I want to click on that and choose the center option, and I centered it. And that, as you can see, my example here, it looks just like the example down here that I shared with you, and you know you're now ready to move on to step 2. To move on to step 2, we go to next. And step 2 goes pretty quick. So now we're just going to follow these. We're going to list each planet in order in cells A3 through A10. Don't forget to include Earth. There is even a picture here that you can look at to look at the planets. And all you got to do is type in the planets in order, Mercury, and hit enter, and you'll go down to the next one. We have Mars. And you can check, you should have all of the 8 planets on here in order. And we just move on to the next step. In E3 through E10, fill in your weight. Fill in the same weight for each cell. Remember, you could put my pet's weight, my dog's weight, my cat's weight, my mom's weight. I'm sure your mom would share with you her weight that you could share with the entire class. I'm joking. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to put in my weight on Earth. Remember, E3 through E10. Here's a cool trick. Now, and again, you can put in my weight. You can put Mr. Dean's weight, but I weigh about 180. Now watch this. I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to click on it, and you see this little tiny circle here. And when I touch it, my mouse turns to a cross. That copies and pastes wherever I drag. If I drag down, it'll fill 180 in all of those. So I can write 180 8 times in like 2 seconds. So we keep moving. In H3 through H10, simply fill in your age. So we can put your age in through there, and I'm going to go over here. It says my age on Earth. and you can put your age. So if, say, you're 11 or 12, you can put in 12, hit enter, click on that, click on the little circle, drag it down to Neptune, you're done. Fill it in really quick. Remember, work smarter, not harder. So we're almost done. So for distance in miles to the sun, in column B, you can look at the example image below. Now, these are commas, okay? So right down through here, distance in miles to the sun. All you're going to do is copy them down. Now, this is a picture. You can't copy and paste. You're going to have to type them in yourself. This might be a good chance to go back and work on doing a split screen again. And you can go down here and look kind of at the numbers. And we are going to, we have, the first one is 36, comma, 000, comma, 000. Hit enter. And we go to the next one. These are commas, not decimals. 67, comma, 240,000. That's 67,240,000. This is how far they are away from the planet Earth. And you just want to make sure you get these numbers right. 141, comma, we have 710, comma, 000, and you just hit enter. And we have 438, comma, that's 438 million, comma, 880,000 miles away from Earth, or distance to the sun, I mean, for Jupiter. Now we're down here to Saturn, 887, comma, 140, comma, 000. I just hit enter to go down to the next one. Now we're up into the billion miles away. 1,783,980,000 miles away. And finally, Neptune, it's so far away from the sun. 2,796,460,000. Boom. Now we can go back, drag this back over if we want, go full screen. We'll go back and check on this. And your spreadsheet should look like the example below, but your age and weight might be different. So you can see I pretty much have steps 1 and 2 done. Now when you're done with 1 and 2, you can move on and work on step 3. So that's how you complete steps 1 and 2 of your planet discovery spreadsheet. All right, when you've finished steps 1 and 2 of your planet discovery spreadsheet, you're ready to move on to steps 3 and 4, which I'm going to show you in this video today. We're going to go to my Canvas homepage, go to due dates. We can click on the planet discovery spreadsheet assignment, and we can just scroll down and click. Now we're ready to go to step 3. We're going to do steps 3 and 4. This is what your spreadsheet looks like. I saw a lot of kids in class when they wrote their weight, they put pounds next to it. We can't put any words in here. We're only putting numbers. It'll mess up and our math formulas won't work later if we have words in here. So if you put pounds next to like your weight or you put years next to age, you got to remove those. All you got to do is just put in your weight, hit enter, click it, drag it down, and it should override all that. So make sure you don't have any words in these cells with your numbers that you're typing. When we go to step 3, we're going to follow these instructions. First, we're going to fill in diameter in miles. So this is the first goal we're going to do. And it says in C3 through C10, we're going to find the planet's diameter in miles. Don't forget to add commas to your number. And remember, do not put the word miles next to your number. To find diameter in miles, we're going to go to this Bob the Alien website. So I'm going to click on this. And when we scroll down, you're going to see diameter right here. And there's 2 numbers. There's diameter in kilometers and diameter in miles. We want diameter in miles. So this might be a good chance if you wanted that you could split screen. And maybe we could just start typing the numbers in. I have to zoom out. Now, Remember, we do not type any words in, but I'm going to start with Mercury, and we're just going to type in the miles, and it's 3,032, and I just hit enter, and we're going to go to the next number, and you can see I'm over here, and I'm not going to highlight them every time, but we're just going to keep going down and doing only the number in miles. So this is 7,521, hit enter. 7,918, hit enter. We're down here to Mars right here. 4,212. This is how big around the planet is, like it's belt size, like around the middle of the planet, how many miles it is around the planet. We are to Jupiter, which is 86,881. Hit enter. 74,898. Remember, I'm only doing the number in miles, not the number in kilometers. We get down here to the last two. We have 31,518, and then we have for Neptune, the final is 30,599. We hit enter, and now we can go back to Canvas and see what our next step is. We're already done with that. In D3 through D10, we're going to find how much of a gravitational pull each planet has compared to Earth. This is going to help us calculate what our weight is on different planets. How much gravity do they have? For this information about the gravitational pull, check out the table below. For Earth, you're going to put 1. This is another situation where we're going to use a picture, and we're just going to type these numbers in. Pretty simple. I'm just going to go right here to where it says gravitational pull. I'm going to type these numbers in. I'm just going to put 0.38, hit enter. 0.91, hit enter. It puts the 0 in for me. Hit 1, hit enter. 0.38, hit enter. 2.36, hit enter. 0.91, hit enter. And you can see as we're moving down, we have 0.89, hit enter. 1.12, hit enter. So next, we can go right up here. We're doing period of revolution. This is how long it takes the planet to orbit around the sun compared to Earth. So we're going to find out how long it takes each planet to revolve around the sun in an orbit. The time it takes is called its period of revolution. Guys, you're just going to go down here and do the same thing. I've given you the numbers. So we're going to go over to period of revolution, and we're going to type in these numbers. And we're just going to do 0.241, hit enter. 0.615, hit enter. 1, enter. 1.88, hit enter. This is data entry. Again, this is like a job skill. People do this all day as a job, entering data. 164.8, hit enter. And now we have the period of revolution. So I'm going to go ahead and make this full screen again. And we're going to go back and look at Canvas. We are now done with step 3. And you can go down to the bottom, hit next, and you're ready to go to step 4. And this will be our last step for today. Spreadsheets can be used to perform mathematical functions and create charts and graphs. Now you're going to enter formulas to have your spreadsheet calculate both your age and your weight. You do not have to do any math. If you're going on a website to figure it out, if you're using a calculator, we don't have to do that. We're going to let the spreadsheet do it. So to have Google Sheets figure out your weight on each planet, we're going to enter a formula into F3. So we're going to go over here. In F3, we want to know, and in this situation, it should be Mr. Dean's weight on this planet if you're using my weight. I'm going to type in a formula. And it says in F3, enter equals E3 star D3, then hit enter. Remember, all spreadsheet formulas start with an equal sign. So when we do math, we say like 1 + 1 = 2. We always put the equal sign last. But this is a computer doing math. It does it kind of backwards. So we're going to say this cell is equal to whatever's in E3 times whatever's in D3. So you just go over here. We just type an equal sign. We put E3, and then we do star. And a star is shift 8. And then we put D3. And what that is saying is Mr. Dean's weight on this planet is equal to E3, which is my weight on Earth, times the gravity, the gravitational pull compared to Earth. I hit enter, and boom, you can see I would be 68 pounds on Mercury. I'm 180 on Earth, so I'm going to be light. I'm going to be swift on my toes when I'm, dancing around and moonwalking on Mercury. So the next thing I would do is I'd have to go down here and I would have to do another formula. But I would have to say, equals E4 star D4. But remember the little copy and paste trick? If you click on this first formula, we drag this down, it will actually copy that formula and calculate my weight on every planet all at once. And if you click on this, you can see right up here what this cell really is. This cell is equal to E3 star D3. Watch as I flip through. It was smart enough to change the formula for every row. It knew to do that. So you can see what planet I would weigh the least on. It would probably be Mercury and Mars since they have the same gravitational pull. But on Jupiter, I weigh a lot, 424 pounds. Now, to finish this, guys, we do the same thing for our age to see how old we would be on each planet. We're going to go to I3, and we're going to put the formula H3 divided by G3. So we go over here, we go into I3 equals H3 divided by, is that what it was? H3 divided by G3. And divided by, this divided by symbol is shift question mark down there. I'm sorry, it's actually just the question mark without the shift. So we're just going to hit right down there where the question mark is. That is the divided by. And we go G3. So it's saying this cell is equal to my age on Earth divided by how long it takes that planet to orbit around the sun or its period of revolution. I'm going to hit enter. Boom. And it told me my age. I would be 49 years old about it on Mercury. Or I'm sorry. This student, if you were 12-year-old, you could see it gives you your age. If you were 12 years old, you would be 49 years old on Mercury. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to drag it down, and I'm going to let off. And you can see your age. And you go down here to Neptune, and you'd be 0.0728 years old. And I know that's kind of a tough number to understand. But check out this pro tip. If you want to round your age to only 2 decimals, highlight all your ages, click Format, Number, and it'll round them to only 2 decimal places. So to make these numbers easier to understand, I'm going to highlight them all, go to Format, Number, and you can see it makes it 2 decimals. Now those are numbers easier to read and understand. So if you're 12 years old on Earth, you would be 12 years old on Earth. But if you're 12 years old on Earth, you'd be 1 year old on Jupiter. A little over 1. You probably just celebrated a birthday on Jupiter. So you can see the closer you are to the sun, the older you are. And as you move away from the sun, the younger you would be. That's how you complete steps 3 and 4 of your planet discovery spreadsheet. Okay, once you finish step 4, you should now know what your weight would be on each planet and what your age would be on each planet. Now you're ready to move on to step 5 and make a graph of some of your data. So we're going to go back to my Canvas page. We can go to due dates. We can click on the planet discovery spreadsheets, and we're ready to move on. We finished step 4. We're going to go to step 5, and we're going to work on 5 and 6. We're going to make 2 graphs today. So if you follow the instructions here, this should be pretty simple. The first graph we're going to make is a column graph about your weight on each planet. So what we need to do is first highlight the information that is going to be in the graph. So we need to highlight A2 through A10. And then we're going to hold the control key. It's in the bottom left of your keyboard. And with the control key held down, we're going to highlight F2 through F10. So I go over here And you're going to click on the word planets, like right in the middle, and drag down. And now I let off my mouse. I'm not touching anything. I'm going to hold control. I'm going to go over here and click on, this title right in the middle. My title is Mr. Dean's Weight on This Planet. That is F2, and I'm going to drag that down all the way down to Neptune. I can let off my mouse. I can let off control. So we can go back and look at the instructions. At the top of your screen, click Insert, then Chart. This will automatically insert a column graph. So with these selected, I'm going to go up to the top of my screen, and I'm going to go to Insert Chart. And right off the bat, we get a column graph. And this looks right. We just have to change some of the information. So we're going to go back. Now you need to finish up your graph. We got 4 things to do. Double click the graph title and change it to my weight on each planet. Do you know how to make it bold and centered? So we want the top middle of the title of the graph to say my weight on each planet. So you just double click up here and you can type in there. We want to capitalize it, my weight on each planet. And if you look over here on the side of your screen, it says title format. Here's how you bold it. Here's how you center it. And now it's at the top. We go back and look at the next one. Double click the vertical axis title and change it to my weight in pounds. So you have 2 titles, the vertical one going up and down. It describes what these numbers are. We need to change it to my weight in pounds. So when you look on here, it says Mr. Dean's weight on this planet. We want to explain what these numbers are. These numbers are a unit of pounds. So I double click on that, and you can see right over here, it says title text. We can write it here, or you can just try to type it here, like sideways. My weight in pounds. And you can still bold that if you want right here. And we have these numbers titled for what they stand for. They're pounds. The next thing, double click on the columns of your column graph. Change them to whatever color you want using the chart editor on the right-hand side of your screen. So I can go in here and double click these columns. And when you do that, you'll get where you can change the color. So I can do a fill color of that, and I can go to each one and I can change the color of each column. It just gives it a little bit of color if you want. So there's that. Maybe we do a green one. And can pick one more. There we go. So that just gives it a little color. Finally, double click on the columns of your column graph. Again, on the right-hand side of your screen in the chart editor, scroll all the way down to the bottom and check the box that says data labels. This will put numbers on your columns. So I just double click the columns again, and you can close this chart editor if you want and try it again. Double click, and when you scroll to the bottom, you'll see a thing that says data labels. And if you don't, just close this, double click the columns, scroll down to the bottom, choose data labels, and that actually puts your weight on the column of each planet. We can close the chart editor. We are going to drag this below our table. We can move it. It's just like a picture now. So I can drag it down. I'm going to stretch it to be as wide as my table above, and you can make it a little longer. And now you're done with your first graph. We're ready to move on to the second. So for my second graph, we're going to go on to the next page, and we are on step 6. And this will be the last thing we do for today. We're going to make a graph about our age on each planet, and it's going to be a line graph. So this time, I just wrote the instructions for you, but we are going to highlight A2 through A10, hold control like we did before, but this time we're going to highlight our age, okay? But we want a line graph, so we're going to have to change the type of graph. So I'm going to go up here. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to let off my keyboard, let off my mouse, click on planets, drag down to Neptune. Now I'm going to hold down control. I'm going to go to I2 where it says my age on each planet, and I'm going to drag down to Neptune. I let off my mouse. I let off my keyboard. I have both of those selected. We're going to go to insert chart, just like we did before. But you're going to notice it made another column graph, and we want a line graph. So on the right-hand side of your screen on the chart editor, change the chart type to line chart. And you'll see right up here at the top, it says chart type. We want to go to a line. And I always say you can choose this one or this one. The only difference is one is smooth and one is more jagged. So we can click on that and we're done. So let's go to the next step. Double click on the title of your graph, change it to my age on each planet. We've already done this. We double click, we can type it in over here, my age on each planet. And remember, we can bold it right here and we can center it. Boom. Let's go to the next one. Double click on the vertical axis title and change it to my age in years. So over here, it just says my age on this planet. We have to tell what these numbers are, what units they measure. These are years. So we just go over here and click on this, and it says my age on this planet, and we want to change that to my age in years. You can bold it. You can go down here on planets too to make it, the same. I guess I should have done this on my other one. I could bold that. And we only have a few more and we're done. Double click the line of your graph, and on the right-hand side in the chart editor that opens up, scroll all the way down to the bottom and select data labels. We've done this before. If you want to start fresh, just close this. Double click on the blue line, scroll down, there's data labels. Now notice it's labeling how old I am on each planet so we can tell exactly how old we are. But there's a problem. We can't really see Mercury. So we're going to try to fix that. Drag your my age on each planet line chart under your column chart. Feel free to change the colors and edit the graph however you like. Do you know how to change the background color of the graph? You can try it. So guys, I'm going to drag this down. We can close the chart editor, and I'm going to drag it like right underneath my other graph. I'm going to make it as wide as my other graph. So after you drag this underneath the other graph, you will notice you cannot see your age on Mercury. You can try to make this chart a little longer, but it just will not tell you like exactly how old you are on Mercury. So what you need to do is click these numbers, double click them. And when you go down, you're going to see where it says minimum value, maximum value. We need to change the minimum value down here, as you can see, is 0. We need to change the maximum to like 60 so it gives us more room. So we can put minimum 0, maximum 60, and when we hit enter, you can see that it changes kind of our vertical grid line here, gives us more space, and you can now see your age on each planet now, including Mercury. So if I zoom out, we should have a completed data table at the top. We have a finished column graph. We have a finished line graph. And now you would be ready to move on to step 7 and jazz up your spreadsheet. Once you've finished your second graph, this is your age on each planet line graph, you're ready to move on to step 7, which is our final step in this project. We're going to go to due dates. We're going to click on Planet Discovery Spreadsheet. Remember, it'll go to the bottom, but we're not ready to turn it in yet. We have one last step. That is going to be step 7. So when I click this, step 7 is just making your graph a little more fun to look at, a little easier on the eyes and more colorful. You can see in my example here, this is what my data table, my column graph for my weight on each planet, and my line graph looked like. But once I started adding color to kind of jazz it up a little bit, it's just a lot more fun to look at, and it makes your spreadsheet look a little cooler, I guess. So how we're going to do that is we open our spreadsheet, and the first thing you can do is any of these cells, rows, or columns, you can just highlight, click the paint bucket at the top, and you can change them to a specific color. So I could make these, like just this light kind of pinkish purple color. I could go over here and do the same thing. You could highlight all your numbers. You could make them a color that you want. And then you can also do the same with your text. If I wanted all of my text at the top, you can change the font style if you want to something. You can change the color of your text. If I wanted it to be, say, a dark purple, I can do that. And then you can do the same with maybe your planets. And finally, you can highlight your entire data table, and you can change the colors and the widths of the grid lines or the lines or the borders of all of these rows, these columns and these cells. So all you do is highlight all your data, go up here to the top, and it looks like a window, and it's called borders. And I'm going to click on borders. And what I want to do first is choose a color. So I'm going to make mine, let's say, blue. And then I'm going to choose what the border looks like and the thickness. And I can choose dotted lines. And I like this big, thick, bold border here. And then which lines do we want to be blue and bold? We're going to choose right here, all borders. And you'll see it immediately change. And now my data table is in a different color. So one thing you do need to remember is if you change the color to, say, black of your data table, you want to make sure that your text is a color that we can read. So make sure that you change the text to be the opposite of the background color. So if you have a dark background in your cell, then you want to make sure that your text is light in color. So next we can go down to this table, and you'll notice a few tricks. If I just double click it, we get the chart editor pops up. And right over here on the right, I'm going to go up to customize, and I'm going to choose chart style. And this right here, customize, and the very top, I'm at the very top of the chart editor. Chart style is pretty much where you can edit whatever you need. Here's the background color. I could choose black, but notice I can't see the text anymore. So we can change that in a minute. Here is 3D option where I can make my columns 3D. And then if you want to change the font to something we can see, I can click on like the title, double click it, and right here is the title text color. So I could choose white. Here's the planet names. Here's the text color. I can choose white. Here's the axis title or the horizontal axis title. I can change that to white. You would want to do this for your numbers on the vertical axis as well. This is only if you make it a dark background, because we got to be able to read those. If you turn this in and I can't read the titles or the numbers or the planet names, you're going to miss it because I'm going to assume they're not there. Finally, this one, we can do the same thing. I can double click it, choose chart style. Notice I can choose the background color. We even have, I would have to go through and change the colors as well. I'm going to make it something a little lighter so we can see it. And you can double click this line. And right here's the line color. You could also change the color of that if you wanted the line to be a different color. And I'm going to go ahead and click on my title. I want to make that text black, really dark, so it matches these. Now, finally, just to do some more fun stuff, I can add some pictures to this. So you can go to Google and look up pictures of your planets and put them on the top of each of these columns. So I will just open up, look up Mercury, and I'll put in the word transparent because I want a picture that has nothing behind it. We'll go to images, click on the picture. We cannot drag and drop this. It gives us an error. So if I try to drag and drop it, it just opens the picture. So you have to touch with 2 fingers on your touchpad, go to copy image, go over here, do the same thing, and you're just going to paste, and you'll have the picture. And you can go through and do this with each planet and put them on top of the columns, almost like a little pedestal. So there's Mercury, and then I could go to Venus, and we could do each and every planet. We touch with 2 fingers on our touchpad, we copy the image, we go over here, we touch with 2 fingers on our touchpad, and we paste it. If the picture does not have a transparent background, then you can, try a different picture. But I would do this for all 8 planets in our solar system, and I would pretty much be done with my graphs. And notice I can just change the word. I can leave the word transparent and go through and find each of these planets one by one. With Jupiter, you might have to squeeze it in. You don't want to cover up the title entirely. We want to be able to read the title at the top of the graph. And notice if I click on the graph, it makes my pictures disappear. That way we can see all the columns. But if I click over here on the data table, they appear. I'll have kids say, oh, my pictures disappeared. Well, if you click on the table, they disappear on the graph here. But when I click off of it, they reappear. Now that we're done with each of the 8 planets, you can see what your table looks like with your graphs. Now with color, you have pictures of the planets. Remember, if I click on this graph, the planets disappear, but if I click on the table, they reappear. Now you're finished with your planet discovery spreadsheet, and we're ready to turn it in. So now to turn this in, our final step, you want to make sure you get credit for what you completed. We're going to go to my Canvas homepage, click on due dates, click on Planet Discovery Spreadsheet. It will go down to the bottom of the screen automatically. Now, there is nothing attached down here. So you have to click the Open to Attach and Submit button and attach your named planets. So we're going to go to Open to Attach and Submit. You will go to Add Files. Find the one with your name. So I've been using, David Planets. I'm going to click on that. If you want, you can even open it just to make sure you're turning in the right one. This is the one that I want graded. So I'll go back to the assignment. I'll hit Submit. We'll hit Submit again. And when you get the green check mark, you know it's turned in, and now your teacher can grade it, and you will get the credit that you deserve on your Planet Discovery spreadsheet.